Hello, I'm Steve. I'm an English teacher. I put some of my classes on YouTube, classes that I'm doing anyway, so it's to spread the knowledge and spread the joy. Today we're doing some listening and speaking, specifically thinking about how you can listen, but not just then forget the activity completely, but no, try and think about what you heard and what makes this B2-C1 and how you can use what you're listening in your own speaking in terms of vocab, grammar and topics as well. So we're going to start with a B2 part 3, fairly friendly, accessible activity, this one that I did in class. It's sort of like C1 part 4, except a bit easier, but good for anyone who's practicing. You're going to hear 5 speakers talking about how they use the internet. You need to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G or H, what they said. As I said, this one's pretty friendly because you can see they're all quite different. It's a bit less confusing. So I will play the audio and you will write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and for each speaker you will write the correct word, the correct letter. The letter is fine. If you want to listen again, then go back in time in the video by pressing the back arrow or by clicking on the timeline, and you can listen as many times as you want, twice in the exam. Go.
Speaker 1.
I find it really useful to help me with schoolwork, especially when we're doing geography or history projects. I know people of my parents' generation used to spend hours in the school or the town library finding the information they needed. My dad said the information was almost always out of date. The internet is fantastic. I've always found what I'm looking for. The only problem is that sometimes there's just too much stuff to get through. One of my friends said she'd once spent 5 hours looking for information. You've just got to know when to stop.
Speaker 2.
I'm addicted to my computer, mainly as a way of keeping in touch with people. It's just so easy to talk to your friends. At the moment, I'm chatting to my older brother who's in Thailand. He's told me incredible stories about what he's getting up to. It's almost as good as the phone, and it doesn't cost anything. I've started talking to a few people I don't know, but I haven't made any new friends like that. I think it's a bit scary, the idea that you can get to know someone like this and then call them your friend. You don't really know anything about these people. I mean, everything they say could be lies.
Speaker 3.
I use it for various things. You know, the obvious ones like emailing, getting the latest news. But at the moment, mostly for buying things. The thing is, I really don't enjoy going shopping in town anymore. It takes me half an hour to get there on the bus, and the shops are always really crowded. I buy all kinds of things from websites. Like last week, I bought a DVD, a new pair of jeans, and some makeup. It's so quick and easy. You just click on what you want, put it in your basket, go to the checkout, and pay with your card. And most things don't take long to arrive. I said I'd show my brother how to do it tomorrow.
Speaker 4.
Music, definitely. It has to be music. That's about all I use it for, really, apart from occasionally checking the sports results. It's fantastic if you're into music of any kind. I go on some of the music sites and download all kinds of music files straight to my smartphone. It's so easy these days. I can't afford to pay, but I don't download anything that you're supposed to pay for. I know some people do. The music industry's trying to crack down on the illegal downloading. They say they're losing sales because people aren't buying CDs anymore or paying for downloads. I reckon they're fighting a losing battle.
Speaker 5.
I use it for all kinds of stuff, but at the moment, mainly catching up with programmes I couldn't watch first time round for some reason. It's incredibly useful to be able to do that. Most of them you can still get for up to a week after their first broadcast. The quality's not quite as good on my laptop, but at least you don't have to wait for ages until they repeat the broadcast. And of course, you can pause programmes and fast forward them so you can avoid the adverts.
Okay, we have listened. Let's go through the answers. First things first, you need to do the listening, get the answers. So for speaker 1, we should have, given that they said schoolwork, geography and history projects, that's studying. So G, easy. For speaker 2, keeping in touch is communicating with people. It's not making new friends because they say that's a bit weird. Speaker 3, buying things. Well, purchases means buying things. You know that for B2 and C1. Speaker 4, music, not paying for it. So it's free entertainment. Music is entertainment and it's free. But it's not really a focus on saving money because he's saying I don't have any money. So it's not quite the same. And speaker 5, catching up with programs. That's going to be C, watching the programs they missed. Easy. Let's do some speaking. So as we can see, we're talking about how you use your free time, mainly the internet, technology, things like this. And here's what the first speaker said. The internet's fantastic, good for finding what you're looking for, but sometimes there's too much stuff. There's too much stuff. What do you think? Is there too much stuff on the internet? Given that this is a speaking assessment where you need to be able to show different functions of language and to construct a clear answer, can you give an example of something that you think is stuff that doesn't need to be on the internet? That's a waste of time on the internet. Is there, too many pages dedicated to the plot lines of old soap operas that no one cares about, and there's just too much stuff? Maybe. Sample question for part 4, which you can discuss. You can think about what you'd say. And we can do the same for some of these other topics that come up again and again, focusing on what they're saying in the text. The idea that you can get to know one like this and call them your friend. You don't know anything about these people. Everything they say could be lies. Talking about meeting people on the internet from the second speaker. Really common speaking topic for a Cambridge exam. So what do you think? Why is it important to be safe online? How do you put this into practice? Again, be specific, give clear examples. Say, I cover my webcam with a bit of tape, which lots of the kids in school do. Say, I never give out personal information online. I don't use my full name. I use a nickname. I use a password manager and all these kind of different things. So there's a little bit of general speaking practice. Let's try another one. This time we're going to do a listening part 2. This one is a bit more difficult. This one is like B2-C1 borderline. So again, I will play the audio for you. You need to complete the gaps using a word or short phrase, which in general for these Cambridge assessments means 3 words maximum. This one is a bit tough because of the topic. I guess it's useful. I've cut that out of the screen. It should say it's about hyper-parenting, as in parents who are hyperactive and demanding too much of their children, making them go to soccer, piano practice, and all these kind of things. So listen, complete the blanks using a word or short phrase.
Life for Kathy Hagner and her 3 young children is set to permanent fast forward. Their full school day and her 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. job are busy enough, but it's at 4 p.m. when school is out for the day that the pace really quickens. Kathy frantically drives Brendan, 12, and Matthew, 10, from soccer field to basketball court, while dropping off 8-year-old Julie at piano lessons. Often, the exhausted family doesn't get home until 7 p.m., just in time for a quick supper before the children have to do their homework. Kathy, who lives in a small town outside Buffalo in New York State, acknowledges the stress such a way of life causes the whole family and has wondered whether it is worth it. But she defends herself by saying that she knows lots of families whose children do even more than hers do. This is the world of hyper-parenting, a world in which middle-class American and increasingly British parents treat their children as if they are competitors eternally racing towards some unidentified finishing line. A world in which children are rushed from activity to activity in order to make their future CVs as impressive as possible. A world in which raising the next top sports person, musician, artist, whatever, has apparently become a more important goal than raising a happy, well-balanced child. US child psychiatrist Dr. Alvin Rosenfeld, co-author of Hyper-Parenting, Are You Hurting Your Child by Trying Too Hard?, explains why hyper-parenting has become such an issue. He says, parents have been led to believe that they can somehow program their children for success if only they do all the right things. It starts even before they are born, when pregnant women are warned of dire consequences if they don't eat the right foods. Then they are told that playing a baby Mozart could speed its development, so they play Mozart, and it just goes on from there. It's a very winner-takes-all view of society, and it's making a lot of parents and children very unhappy. Childhood expert William Doherty of the University of Minnesota informs us that doctors across the country are reporting a growing trend in children suffering frequent headaches due to exhaustion and stress. In the UK, too, GPs and child experts are reporting similar symptoms of stress. With 2 working parents now the norm, many children have to go to clubs at the end of the school day through necessity. But competitive pressures are also fueling an explosion of private sector extracurricular activities, including sports, language, music, and maths classes for children as young as 4. Psychiatrist Terry Apter admits that there is definitely a new parenting trend underway, which says that parents have to uncork all their child's potential at a young age. They're concerned that they are letting down their children if they don't. She goes on to say that it isn't an entirely new phenomenon, that there have always been pushy parents, but that what was previously seen as eccentric behaviour was now much more the norm. Mothers see their children's friends doing lots of extracurricular activities, and they believe they have to follow suit. It all becomes very competitive. Terry Apter has seen at first hand the harmful effects of hyperparenting. She is currently studying a group of British and American 18-year-olds, many of whom are having enormous difficulty adjusting to the freedom of college life. She explains that a lot of them are so used to having their time completely filled up by their parents that when they leave home, they lack the most basic self-management skills and simply don't know what to do with themselves. The answer, she says, is for parents to lighten up and take a sensible middle road, allowing time for free play as well as structured activity. She sums up, "Everyone wants their child to shine, but going to art or jazz classes is not necessarily any more beneficial than giving young children time and freedom to play by themselves, or just to sit and think."
And we should have as the answers. Basketball was the other example of the activity they did. They're suffering from stress. It affects middle-class parents. Bit of a judgment, but that's what it said in the audio. You have to eat the right foods. Children are getting headaches. They have to attend clubs. They're only 4, too young to be doing these things. They are letting down their children. They can't cope with the freedom, and they need time for free play. Something with play, I think, is necessary for that answer. So I have a mark out of 10 there for a slightly more difficult part 2. But let's think about this topic, because I was listening to this, writing the answers, but also listening, thinking, yeah, this is an interesting topic. I am a parent of a very young boy. Am I going to make him go to basketball, soccer and piano? Do I want to push him? Do I want to do I wish that my parents had pushed me more to do more activities, because they didn't really encourage me to do anything. They let me do things, but they didn't push me to do things. It's an interesting topic, which might be on your speaking exam, such as, please look at the photos. You have 1 minute to compare the photos and say, why might parents encourage children to do these activities? Which you can now do. And as we've seen before in many of my videos, you need to focus on answering the question, making a clear point, comparing them if possible. One is more physical, one is more mental, one is more in a team, one is more individual. They're both good because they encourage people to work hard, to be disciplined, to use your brain, and so on and so on. Lots of good ideas there that you need to construct into a 1 minute answer. If you're doing this as C1, then let's add another photo on the same topic and add another question and do the same thing, but focus, as we said before, on this little matrix you make in your mind. 2 questions, 2 photos, link your points together, and you've got a good 1 minute answer. We could do the same thing for part 3, thinking about how parents can be too demanding. And now you have to talk together about how parents might be too demanding in these different ways, in these different areas. And you can make points like, as you'll see in a minute, In terms of creative expression, I think there is a bit of pressure because everybody wants their children to be artistic and to be like a creative person. So maybe some parents try and force their children to play a musical instrument, and sometimes the kids don't want to. They might find it boring if they have to play piano for 3 hours with an old teacher. What do you think? Oh, I agree. And you pass the conversation on like that, giving clear points related to each of these areas. Which is my next idea, because sometimes I think students see this and they think, oof, I wouldn't know what to say. Well, they are expecting you to say certain things. When they write the exam, they make these questions with an idea in mind of what you might talk about, expressing typical ideas, something I've mentioned in my videos a lot before, where to reach the B2-C1 level, the point is you can express typical ideas that already exist, that have already been said lots of times before, but you can do it in English. You might say, for example, about creative expression, playing the piano or the violin, drawing, going to art classes, singing, being confident in public, things like those that parents want their children to do, but children might find difficult. In terms of academic performance, what does that mean? This is maybe an easier one. What does it mean? It means getting good grades, being able to go to university, getting into university, being top of the class. Nice expressions like this. For sporting achievements, what do parents want their children to do? What do they demand? To play for the local team, win trophies, take part in a tournament or a competition, these kind of things. What do parents want for their children's career? Well, ideally, they just want them to do something they love. But maybe sometimes they are too demanding and they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer when all you want to do is play punk music. They want you to earn lots of money when you don't care about money, you only care about happiness, so on and so on. In terms of social status, of course, this is normal, isn't it? Parents want their children to be popular, to be outgoing, to make lots of friends, but it can be difficult for children. So you're making these kind of points, concrete points in the areas that you're expected to talk about, having that conversation. That's how you do it. Right, let's finish this, because when I see this, and I've got my Cambridge brain switched on, and I see all these words, I instantly think, oh, use of English part 3. What were we just talking about? There are 8 use of English part 3 word transformations in this little speaking part 3. Isn't that crazy? So take a minute and try and think back to the nouns. They're pretty, well, I guess they're a mix of adjectives and nouns because we are saying what kind of noun it is, adjective, noun. For example, adjective, noun, 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 adjective, noun. Can you transform these words like use of English part 3 back to what they were in the previous question without going back in the video, but just by using a bit of thinking? We should have, starting with number 1, creative expression. That's what parents want from their children. Academic performance, sporting achievements, career choice, and social status. Right, I hope that was useful. A bit different, some speaking and listening. We'll be back next week with more use of English, I think, so see you then.